Hey everyone, all right, working on a new project today, and I figured, you know what, set up the camera, hit record, and at least that way you guys get to see what I'm doing and there's a video to it. So let's get started. I'm gonna try and not make this an hour-long video like the skull was, along with my beautiful octopus. If you remember, if you saw the video creation of these guys. If not, I will link the video up here at the top for you to find it easily. So, and you might want to check out that video because I talk a lot about the resin I use, the casting resin. So you might want to check that one out. For full details, go and check out that video because I'm kind of going to speed through this process because I did do a very detailed video when I made the skull and the octopus. All right, so the skull, super adorable, super cute. I had a thought and an idea that I got off the very talented Annie from Annie's Art Studio. If you're on Instagram, you would know her there. And if not, go and check her out. It's Annie's Art Studio, and she does have a YouTube channel as well. And she makes the most amazing resin pieces. It's just amazing. So she had done a video on her Instagram, a skull, not similar to this one, and put it in one of these pyramid molds. And I thought it was genius. So my inspiration for this comes from Annie. So I have a pyramid mold here. It's hard plastic on the outside, and then you have the silicone here. Now this one in particular had, or where is it? I know it did, didn't it? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it had measurements. I guess I was wrong. Maybe I made my own measurements. Clearly I made my own, but I thought it had measurements. But anywho, I measured, I can't even remember, 1/2 inch between because I had done my blue pyramid. Actually, I still have it. Let me show you. Here you go. So this was my blue pyramid, and that's what I had done. I wanted to make sure each layer I had created was the same thickness, pretty much. So what I did was I measured the mold and then with a measuring tape, and then I took a black Sharpie on the outside, not on the inside, and I measured, because that way you could see the lines on the inside. So I was able to know when to stop at every line, and I was able to make the super cute pyramid, which by the way is available for purchase if anyone is interested. All right, so what I wanted to do was put the skull in the mold and capture it in time in this mold, this pyramid mold here, and use my new casting resin from Krystal Resin. Now this pyramid you can pretty much get at so many different places. Krystal Resin does sell a pyramid mold, so you can get it from Krystal Resin, and you can actually save 7% off by using my code Kanella5 if you happen to get it off Krystal Resin's website, which if you're buying the casting resin, you might as well just buy this while you're at it and just do a one-stop shop, right? But you could also find it on Amazon, but there's no discount there. So anywho, so what I wanted to do was I want to put the skull in here. But first I need to add a few layers at the tip of the pyramid because I don't want this. I want the skull to be at the very base of the pyramid and not at the top. So this is going to be my first step where I'm going to use my casting resin. So here's the casting resin. Now there's two kinds. This is the shallow casting resin. So this is meant more for smaller molds, thin, like maybe 1 inch in depth, okay? So that's what the shallow casting mold is for, or resin, sorry. That's what the shallow casting resin is for. And that is what I'm going to use in this because I'm only going to do the first layer. So, and then I'm going to let it dry and cure, which is going to be, I don't know, it's usually pretty hard to the touch within 6 to 8 hours, and I'll be able to put my next layer on top, or I'll just do it tomorrow morning because it is afternoon right now. So I'll be doing that. And then keeping in mind, I am actually going to do another skull. So I have them already dusted, and I'm going to be using my deep casting resin. So this is deep casting resin. This is great for filling pieces that are really thick, like this guy. Or even if you wanted to do the pyramid and just fill it up in one shot, you could use the deep casting resin. Now, I haven't personally done it myself. I have done it with the skull, and we all know it worked out perfectly fine and bubble free, not a single bubble, air bubble in this entire skull at all. But you can technically do the deep casting in something this thick. So, but again, I haven't tried it yet. So deep casting, okay, I'm going to use that for the skull. Now, the thing with deep casting mold is it takes a good 3 days to cure and harden. So if I pour this in here now, tomorrow, it's still going to be very wet, very tacky, very fluid. It takes a good 3 days to harden. So that's the difference between the shallow casting and the deep casting. All right. So again, check out my other video that I mentioned earlier, and that'll explain everything. So in my skull head, I have dusted him with my Let's Resin Chameleon powders. Okay. And for this one, I used the color teal, and that is what it's going to look like. So these are my sample hearts. Again, check out my last video if you want to know what this is all about. So I have used my chameleon powder and dusted the entire skull with a bigger brush with the teal. And don't forget, you can save 5% off your Let's Resin orders, and that is where the skull is from. If you want the skull mold, it's from the Let's Resin website, and you can save 5% off your purchases at Let's Resin using code Kanella5. All right, so I'm gonna get started. And for the tip, so actually, since I have this here, I'm going to do the tip of my pyramid a solid purple, because I want him to kind of match my purpley magenta skull head here. So I'm going to do the tip a solid purple, and then I'm going to do, when that dries, I'm going to do a layer of just clear resin, and then I shall put the skull inside. But again, this is a multi-step process. So I'm going to get my shallow casting resin, and I'm going to mix some up in a cup, and I will be right back. All right, everybody. So I have gone ahead and mixed some shallow casting resin. Now, yes, this is a lot of resin, and I'm not intending to use it all here. I actually made a bunch of extra because I'm working on some other stuff. So I'm going to use it in some other molds that I'm working on off camera. So like I said, I'm only doing just the tip of the pyramid because I want it to be a solid purple color. And so that's what I'm working on first. That's the first step. So you can find pigment powders, pastes, that kind of stuff all over the internet. So I'm using a brand that is no longer available, but I really do like this purple. It's from Arteza, and it's a pigment powder. But Krystal Resin sells powders, Black Diamond, Baltic Day. There's so many pigment powders you can find on Amazon. Check my Amazon shop. There's some links in there in the Amazon in my shop where you can find products. There's so many pigment powders out there in the world that you can pick. It doesn't have to be what I'm using. But I just happen to really like this purple color. So that is what I will be using. And you only need a little bit. So just a little tip of your popsicle stick here. And I always put, if it's a powder, I always put it first before putting in the resin, because now I am simply going to pour some resin into the cup, and it'll just go on top of the powder and not create a powdered poof in my face when I go to stir it, right? So I'm wondering how much I need. That should be enough for the tip I'm working on. All right, and now, because the powder's already at the bottom, like if I put the resin in first and then the powder on top, when I go to stir it, I'm gonna get a cloud of dust in my face, right? So now I can stir this easily without getting a cloud of pigment powder squirted in my face when you mix. All right, so just give it a good mix, super quick. And if you end up making too much resin, or if this is too much for me, I will just go and put the leftovers of this in something else, like a different mold. Like for example, my bear molds, right? I always have molds kicking around to fill up with resin when I have a little excess. There's no sense in throwing it out. Just fill it, put it in a mold. And if it only fills up that much of the mold, the next time you have more resin, fill it up again and keep filling until you've filled the mold completely. And then you have like a rainbow effect of different colors in that mold. All right. So I've got my pyramid here and I'm going to fill it up 3 lines up. So that's where I'm going to put it. And you got to be very careful when you're pouring this in here that you don't get any of the sides, and you want it to go directly down into the bottom here without getting it all over the sides. So I shall move my way up. All right. I think that's where I want it. That's all I want in there. So let me see if I can, see, that's all I did. Okay, so I'm going to put it back. I don't want to ruin it. And then because the tip of the pyramid is right there at the bottom, what I like to do is you can use a toothpick, you can use something that's got a pointy tip to it. So these are my little bamboo skewers that I get from the dollar store. I want to just put it in here and just kind of tap the very tip of the pyramid. Like, I mean, I'm not poking a hole through my silicone pyramid, but I'm just kind of tapping the center of that tip of the pyramid to make sure the resin, there's no air bubble there. You know what I mean? And that the resin gets right down to the very, very tip, because when I pull this pyramid out of the mold, I want it to have a nice, sharp, pointy tip to it. When I pull it out. And then there you go, just wipe this and then you can use it again and again and again. All right, so that's step 1. Like, that's all I'm doing for this part. So I'm gonna let this cure and I'll be back for step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many steps it takes to finish this up. So be right back for step 2. All right, so moving on to the next step, which would have been step 2, but I've already done it. I've already added a clear layer of shallow casting resin, and I just forgot to record it. So all I did was just mix up some shallow casting resin and I added another layer. So now there's 2 layers in there, and now we shall move on to step 3, the most important part that I hope works. So first of all, might I remind you guys, you must make sure that your pyramid is level. If it's not level, you're going to end up with crooked layers, okay? So for this step, I'm not even thinking, because I'm now going to put in my skull upside down and I have to fill it up, I need to use the deep casting resin. So I used shallow casting resin for the purple and the clear, but now I need to use the Krystal Resin's deep casting resin. So, and that is a 2-to-1 ratio, which I have already gone ahead and mixed in here. It's so liquidy and watery. And like literally bubbleless, which is great. All right, so I've never done this before, so this is going to be a complete trial and error. So what I'm trying to do now is I want the skull head, to be level. You don't want him sideways like this, right? Because then he's not straight. You want him to be as straight as possible. So when he's sitting on the table like this, straight and flush, you know, like this, you want him to be straight and flush here. Now, I also don't want any part of this skull head touching the sides of the mold. So it's not touching any part of the mold right now as it is. There's a fluff here. Okay. Now the question is, how do you keep it from moving around once you pour in the deep casting resin? So I am going to, and you don't want this flat part to go over the rim, because I am going to pour one final layer on top of this when I'm done. So you don't want it to surpass this top layer. You want to be able to leave at least something so that you can put one final layer. You don't have to, but that is what I am going for in this piece. So that is pretty much where I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself some green painter's tape, which I've already cut a piece. And so I'm going to firmly press this tape on the skull's head, okay? And then I'm going to recenter it and put it where I want it to go. Make sure it is flat and level and none of the parts of the skull are touching the sides. Okay, and then I'm going to do this. Just tape the edge like this. So it's actually it's pretty sturdy there. That's the good thing about tape. It sticks to resin really, really well. So I'm just going to, all right. So his nose isn't touching. The back of the head isn't touching. And it looks pretty level to me. I just hope once I put the shallow or the deep casting resin in there, it doesn't move. So it's pretty sturdy. Nice and straight. Yeah, pretty straight. All right. So I've already, as you can see, gone ahead and mixed my deep resin here. Now, I always mix a lot. Don't ask me how much to mix because I'm going to tell you I don't know. I don't measure how much I mix. I always make extra anyway because I always have little side projects that I'm working on that I can use the resin for if I have too much. All right, so pour slowly because you just don't want him to move. I'm going to pour slowly and see if he actually moves. I don't think it's going to move. I hope it doesn't move. So I need to pour enough for the entire skull to get covered, but I don't want it to touch the tape because if it gets the tape, then it's going to stick. The resin is going to stick, or the tape is going to stick to the resin. All right, so he's not moving. He's good. And I'm just going to pop this there, air bubble. Obviously, it needs more. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. How much more? Maybe I didn't make extra resin. Maybe this was just enough and maybe not even enough. I might have to make some more, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I will. Which is fine because I have another project I need to work on. So, wow, and here I thought that was going to be more than enough. I guess I was wrong. All right. I only need a little bit more. Like just like that much more. So, all right. I don't think the head is moving at all, which is great. He's not moving. No, it's good. Now this has to sit here for like 3 to 4 days. So I am going to continue to check on it and make sure like the tape didn't get loose or anything like that, because if you don't check on it and it gets loose, then bye-bye, you know, project that you're working on. All right, so I'm going to make some more resin and I'm going to fill them up. And I'll be back for the next and final step, or almost final step, after this is cured in 3 to 4 days. All right, everybody, on to the next step. So this is now day 3, I believe. I don't even remember. And it's really hard. Now, after about day 1.5, I noticed the resin was seeping into the skull's head, like under here. So it was the tape was getting stuck to it. So what I did was, when it was hard enough that the skull wasn't going to move anymore, I did peel the tape off. And you can see, can you see that line? Where is it? there's a line right here and a line right here. Like you can see there was resin in here, and this is where the tape was. So I was able to peel the tape off pretty easily because I didn't let it cure the full, 3 days or whatever. And it doesn't matter what it looks like under here because you're going to cover it anyway. So yeah, that part is done. So now we have the purple tip, the clear resin, which was the second layer. Then this is the third layer, and now we are going to do the final and fourth layer. So the final layer is going to be, I'm going to be using the shallow casting resin. Okay, so you could do this whole thing using deep casting resin. You just have to wait more days for it to cure. I don't have that kind of patience. That's why I did the first 2 layers with shallow casting resin, because it dries literally by the next day. And then for this part here, because I poured so much, you must use the deep casting resin. And then because my last layer is only going to be about this much, I'm using the shallow casting resin again. So please, please, please keep in mind when you are doing this skull head, okay? And if you've bought in the mold and stuff, you must use casting resin. I had a viewer of mine, she bought all the stuff and I felt so bad for her. She emailed me in a panic and, she had put the resin in the mold and hours later, it literally overheated, super, super hot, and started like bubbling out of the top of the mold and just expanded, and it was a complete mess. And she's like, what did I do wrong? And I didn't even have to ask her. I knew right off the bat what she did wrong. She used regular resin. You cannot use regular resin in a mold this deep in one shot. You could use it if you were doing a little bit, then a little bit, then a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit, and do like, 5 or 6 different layers after each layer dries. But if you're going to pour it all in one shot, you must use deep casting resin. All right. So don't make that mistake, because it's also dangerous too, right? Like, your resin overheats. It could, like she had it on her kitchen countertops. Luckily she noticed, before the resin got stuck to the counters. It was a mess. She sent me pictures and I was like, oh no. So pay attention. You gotta use casting resin. All right. So I have my shallow casting resin already mixed here. And hopefully it's enough. So I am going to be adding, let me just move this out of the way real quick. I'll put it back. So I'm going to be using these glitters from glitterbabes.ca. And again, you can save actually 15%. That info will be in the description below. So it took me forever to figure out what colors I was going to use because, you want to finish this off right. So the skull head is like a purpley bluish. So I'm going to do like these colors here and then this pearl. So this is pearl. This one's faith. And this one's called Dreamcatcher. And you want to put enough glitter in there where it's not going to be see-through. Like you're not going to be able to see through the resin. You can if you want. For me personally, I want it to be super opaque and not be able to see through it. So yeah, I'm just going to add, and this is chunky glitter. So this should be interesting. I don't really know. Maybe that was even too much. Maybe that was a lot. Let me go with the white before I end up adding that pink stuff in, because that might be too much now. This is what happens when I do things. I don't normally do this kind of stuff. First time doing this, right? So there's going to be trials and errors, obviously. Okay, so I do want to add a little bit of that faith, because I do want to add a little bit of the pink, because the face of the skull was the magenta. So I don't know if this is a lot of glitter. We're going to find out together once it's dry and I, take the mold out and see what it looks like. Might be good, might be bad. I don't know. We'll find out together, because like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this. All right, so mix it all up really well. Look at that. It sure is pretty though. I love these glitters. All right. So I'm going to give it a quick stir. All right, I will bring my skull head back here into camera's view. Make sure there's no dust particles in there. All right, so I'm going to fill her up. And then any leftover resin I have left, I shall put in a smaller mold, like maybe my bear mold or something like that. If there's any left, we shall find out. All right, let's cover this guy up. I'm so excited. So because this is shallow casting resin, this will be ready to take out of the mold tomorrow. Yeah, see, I might not even have enough to fill it. Look at that. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy, I tell you. And here I thought, oh, I'll make extra so I can make a little bear or something. Well, clearly that wasn't even enough, right? I could mix a bit more so I can fill it up. There's like, yeah, I should fill it up. I'm going to fill it up. So I'm going to mix a bit more resin. I'm going to make a bit more. Be right back. All right, so I've mixed a little more, or a lot more. I've mixed a lot more resin because I don't want to mix just a little and then realize it's not enough. So whatever. As you can see, I have other molds here standing by for me to fill up because I know I'm going to have extra now. So I want to fill this up right to the edge of my mold. See, I already used half of it. Look at that. So that is pretty flush to the bottom of my pyramid mold. I'm just going to kind of mix it because you can never get the same amount of glitter ratio from the first to the second. So I'm just going to mix her up. And that is ready to go. All right, so I've got some resin left over and I'm going to pour it here into my ring holder mold. I love this thing. I actually have a few of these in my room where I put my rings on them. All right. So that is that. And then there's a little left, which I shall put into the bear mold after. I'm going to just do this later. But so there you go. So tomorrow I will show you guys the last and final step, and I'm going to cross my fingers that it looks good when I take this out of the mold. I have no idea what it's going to look like. First time ever making one. So we're going to see it together. See you in the morning. All right, ready for the last step. Now, things I noticed as this was drying was all the glitter sunk to the bottom. So next time I need to add a lot more glitter, clearly, because all the glitter just sank, and you can see there's a clear layer on top and all the glitter has sunk. Same with the bear. You see the bear, the glitter has sunk all to the bottom. So I'm just going to take this out, even though I didn't have enough resin to fill them up, but I might as well just take it out and I'll show you guys what it looks like. But yeah, all the glitter sunk. So clearly, see, it's all at the top of his head. So yeah, you gotta, I guess you gotta put a lot more glitter. Yeah, lots more. And this is my ring holder. So let's just take this one out too while we're at it. All right, come on. There we go. That one looks cute. That one's not so bad. Okay. Nice pointy tip. Very cool. Look at that. I like it. All right, moment of truth. I'm like nervous. I have a feeling it didn't turn out well, but let's just find out. So turn it upside down and it comes out obviously super easily. I was worried about these lines. Do you see the lines? This is from when I did that blue pyramid, and the lines ended up sticking or staying on the silicone mat or mold. So I'm worried that it left an imprint I don't know. We'll find out in a second. Together. Oh, I'm so nervous. Oh my gosh, I'm like so nervous. I don't even want to look yet. Here, don't look. All right, let's see. Oh, he's got, so, okay. Let me look at him first and then I'll tell you what I see. Okay, so what I do see are a few of the ridges from the lines. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see them? Okay, now the glitter base actually looks pretty cool. Now what I'm disappointed about is when I added this second layer of casting resin, I squirted it with rubbing alcohol. And can you see it left a bit of a fog on the bottom when it was upside down and I squirted it? You can see it almost looks like smoke. I don't know if I can get you to see that. Oh, it's so hard to show you. But there is like a foggy layer because I squirted it probably too much. Oh, do you see it now? Yeah, do you see it right there? And right there? So yeah, there's a little bit of a fog over his head. Man, his head really sunk. No, it didn't. It looks like it sunk. But he's got a lot of air bubbles all over him too. Look. So, you know what though? Considering it was my first try, it's not bad. I'm actually happy with it. I'm not overly disappointed with it. I think I had seen somewhere on Instagram that if you're putting something into a mold, you should wet it and get it all covered in resin first and then put it in. And then that way it's already covered. But I don't know how you would do that with this. Do you know what I'm talking about? Am I making sense? So, oh, those edges are sharp. I think he's cool though. I do. So I think when I make another one, because I'm going to make another one because I want to try the blue skull head that I have. But my next one is not going to be a clear layer here. It'll be like different layers or glitter or something. But I kind of don't like this layer, this one layer I did, because you can see it. But aside from that, I actually like how the glitter settled to the bottom. And then because when you flip it over, it's got a really solid base that the head is sitting on, and then it gets clear. So I actually don't mind that. That I'm okay with. The tip I'm okay with. I'm not happy with this middle layer. And the skull itself stayed put. It didn't move, which I'm also happy with. I think I'm going to have to get a new pyramid mold though, because I can see the lines. Like, can you see them? Can you see them in the reflection? Like, I can see the lines there. You can see it there. So there's a line there, a line there. So I'm going to have to get a new pyramid mold because clearly my, that one I did with all the blues, I think, I was using regular resin back then and I must have ruined the mold. Who knows? But yeah, I'm really happy with it. So, a few flaws. And so this will be available for purchase for anyone who's interested. And, if you are interested in it, there will be a discount on it because, there are flaws in it and it's not perfect. But I'm sure someone out there will really love it. So if anyone would like it, shoot me an email. So I will do another one. And I don't know if I'll actually videotape it, but I will do another one. And I will, and when I do, I will show you guys the results on camera. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, opinions, ideas, put them in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think about him. I really do think he's cool though. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was fun, something new, something different. And that is it. Until next time, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Have a good night. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.